This fitness influencer was so strong that the whole internet community thought he was a fake Natty. He got randomly drug tested for 4 months straight, and his results were analyzed by Derek from More Plates, More Dates. And here's the official result. Chances are the dude is natural. So in today's video, I'll be analyzing the strength and technique of one of the strongest gym bros online, MattDoesFitness. Before we start this video, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Pana. I'm a 2-time powerlifting world champion, and I've also coached several world and European champions in the IPF. So let's say I know a thing or two about strength or technique on the big 3 lifts. Now that's out of the way, let's see why people believed that the level of strength of MattDoesFitness wasn't achievable as a natural lifter. So we're starting with the squat. Before we analyze the lifts, it's important to know the body weight of the person. It's like with MMA, there are weight classes because somebody that weighs 70 kilos cannot be compared to somebody that weighs 120 kilos, for example. So in MattDoesFitness case, I found online that his body weight is around 95 kilos or approximately 210 pounds. For reference, we'll take this weight. So first things to notice on his squat, so here he's squatting 180 kilos. Very, very good technique, very good depth. So on the squat, there are 2 main ways to squat, so the high bar and the low bar squat. The high bar is more like the Olympic weightlifting style of squatting, and the low bar is definitely the more powerlifting way of squatting. Main difference, when you squat high bar, it's mostly quads and also spinal erectors. And when you squat low bar, it's much more on your posterior chain, so glutes, hamstrings, adductors, and the weight is well more balanced on your body. So for most people that are looking to squat as much weight as possible, in my opinion, the low bar, exactly like Matt is doing here, is better. And we can see he has like a very typical powerlifting low bar. The bar is sitting exactly on his rear delts. So as you can see here, this crest here, that's where you want the bar to sit. And here, it's really like the textbook form of low bar squat. So we can also see that he has some fairly short femurs. Short femurs equals better leverages for squats. So yeah, the way that 180 moved, he definitely has some room in the tank here on squats. But let's see. So next jump is 220 kilos. So he's going from 4 plates to 5 plates. Honestly, I think that's a good jump. Like when you're fairly strong, you can definitely go like plate, plate, plate. So let's say 60, 100, 140, 180, 220, and so on and so forth. But as long as you're not taking like crazy jumps, and in my opinion, it's a good thing to sometimes warm up by doing more reps. So for example, with 1 plate, you'll do 6 reps, with 2 plates, 6 reps, and so on and so forth. And then the closer you get to your top set, then you want to shift towards like single reps. So I'm assuming here he'll probably do 1 rep, but let's see. Yeah, as I expected, 1 rep, very, very smooth, pretty much the same, very good technique. The weights are very controlled, the depth is good. So honestly, that's very impressive so far. So now he's going from 220 to 240, so plus 20 kilos, pretty much the same. Like I said, very like logical jump to make. Yeah. So there's one thing I really like about his technique. He's not trying to be like extremely speedy with the rep. I think that's a mistake, especially beginners are doing. They think that speed equals strength and that the faster you go on your rep, the better it is. But sometimes when you're trying to go too fast, you're actually compromising your technique. Here we can see that 240 wasn't very speedy, but it was very controlled. His technique was very good. I would much rather have an athlete have like maybe a much slower rep, but much more controlled with perfect technique than somebody that goes very fast, but his technique is all over the place. Don't try to create like the illusion of speed on your reps. Obviously, you want to go as fast as you can, but with regards to technique and control of the rep, I think that's a bit better. So yeah, honestly, so far, I don't have anything to say on his lift. His technique is great. Let's see how far he can push it. So now he's going to 265, just shy from 600 pounds. I think when you're this close to like a very meaningful weight, why not load it? You know what I mean? Why not load it? So here he was like 7 kilos, like 15 pounds from 600, but let's see how this moves first. I like that he like dropped the t-shirt. That's definitely an ego boost. And all of the most badass anime characters, when they're fighting seriously, they're dropping the t-shirt. As you can see, I'm wearing a compression tee because I'm trying to impersonate Toji from Jujutsu Kaisen. So pretty much the same here. I like that. I really like that a lot. Yeah, very good. Honestly, that's a very, very strong squat. We can see the bar is very wobbly. In reality, when you're used to that, it's okay. But for example, because I'm squatting on a stiff bar, when the bar is wobbly, it really throws off my balance. So here, I would say if Matt is really serious about strength training, I would definitely buy a stiff barbell and not a wobbly one. Obviously, you can get stronger with a wobbly barbell, but I think it's much harder to have consistent technique. But besides that, great technique, great execution, great strength. So now it's time to give a score to MattDoesFitness. For strength, I think I'll give an 8 because 265, 585 approximately pounds, that's very good, but he's fairly heavy, 95 kilos, approximately 210 pounds. So yeah, 8 out of 10, I think is a very good score, maybe 8.5. And then for technique, I would definitely give him a 10 out of 10. I think the only other fitness influencer I analyzed the technique and I gave a 10, I think was Sam Sulek. So MattDoesFitness definitely knows how to squat. Very, very good form, very good technique. We're off to a great start on squats, and now it's time to bench. So, 120 kilos. So I'll be honest with you guys, we're not off to a great start. I'm slightly disappointed by his technique because I had like very, very high expectations because of the squat. But here, his technique is not the best. So let's see first what he's doing right. Wide grip, I think it's the best grip for strength. I already did a video on that topic that you will find here. But essentially, wide grip equals optimized range of motion. And also, you're really able to target the chest very well. And out of those three muscle groups, so chest, deltoids, triceps, the chest is obviously the bigger muscle group. So by shifting more stress towards that muscle group, you're essentially able to have better strength potential. And also, he has a very good wrist position. As you can see, his wrists are like slightly bent, not crazy bent, but slightly. The bar is really in alignment with his forearm and his elbows are wide open. So those elements, in my opinion, are mandatory for a great bench press, and he's doing all of that. So those are the good things. Now, the bad things, in my opinion, it mostly comes down to his leg drive. As you can see, when the bar touches his chest, he's like pushing, but he's pushing upwards with his butt and not backwards. I already did a video on that as well. But essentially, when you're benching, imagine the bench is here. You want your butt to go in this direction and not in that direction. And here, as you can see, his butt is definitely pushing upwards and not like backwards. So that's some leak of strength and not as good in terms of positioning. So yeah, so I would say so far I'm a bit skeptical about how strong he can actually be because here it's 120 kilos and we can already see some technical breakdowns, but let's see where he can push this bench press. So he moved up to 140 kilos. So 3 plates, the best Gymbro bench. So I would say whatever he was doing right on the 120, he's still doing it right. So wide grip, opened up elbows, stacked with the bar, all of those things, great. With regards to the leg drive, I think it's slightly better than the 120, but here I would say it's mostly a problem of timing. So the way he's pushing into the ground and with his legs is not properly timed with how he's pushing, how he's pressing against the weights. Ideally, you want to push into the ground and press off your chest with like pretty much the same timing. So you want those things to happen at the same moment. Here we can see there's really like a delay in between when he's pushing with his legs and when he's pressing the weights up, which is, in my opinion, one of the issues on his technique. So plus 10 kilos, I think is a fair jump. So he went up from 140 to 150. The way that 140 moved, I think that was a right call. So let's see that 150 now. Yeah. So what I don't really like is like, it's okay to not pause your bench at the bottom when you're like training as a gym bro for strength in general. In powerlifting competitions, you do have to pause the bar on your chest, which makes the lift harder essentially. In my opinion, there's a difference between like doing a touch and go and like dumping the bar on your chest like he's doing here. This is not as good because when you dump the bar on your chest, it's not as if you're controlling anything. So the bar path, how you're able to like press off your chest, those elements are really important. And when you're simply like bouncing the bar on your chest, you don't have enough control. And I think here that's what's lacking. And that's also why he's not able to properly anchor himself with his leg drive. So what I would say here is to do a variation that in my opinion is very, very good to build like that overall strength on the bench. And it's the 2-count pose bench press. I've already talked about it in several videos. It's really that good of an exercise. So you simply lower the bar to your chest, pause for 2 good seconds, and then you press it back up. It will teach you a lot of things, like I said, on keeping your chest high at the bottom half of the rep, but also having like really good positioning, really good leg drive, and those things really are important for a good bench. So I'll be honest with you, I don't know where he can go from there. I would say 155 is definitely the best call, but maybe he'll go for 160, like round number. We'll see. Sorry, I have an ad. I don't have YouTube Premium, guys. I'm a YouTuber, I don't have YouTube Premium. I think that's not very good. But hey, ads are important for us as creators. So, you know, I'll watch through the ad. I'll watch it.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save up to £240.
Okay, so what did Matt choose in the end? Oh, 160. So he said, you know what? F it, let's load it. So 160 kilos, that becomes a very, very solid weight for a gym bro. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not going. So, like I said, I think it mostly came down to what I said a bit earlier. His positioning at the bottom is not good. And it's like a house, you know, you have to have like very good foundations. Otherwise, your house cannot stand. And here, that's exactly what happened. He's obviously a strong dude, but up until that point, he almost like muscled his way through. But when you're handling some very, very high weights, like 160 on the bench, that's not enough. You definitely need some solid technical foundations. And I think they're lacking here on his bench. His squat was like technically perfect. His bench, in my opinion, has some work that needs to be done in order to like express the most amount of strength that he can possibly express. So here for strength, I think I'll give him a 7 out of 10. Like I said, again, 95 kilos, 210 pounds, very strong, very muscular dude, has been training for a lot of years. So I'm taking that into account. So yeah, 7 out of 10. And in terms of technique, I think I'll also give 7. There are some good things like wide grip, the elbow joint stacking, etc. Those things are great. But also there are some very, very big holes in his technique. And that's why I cannot give him a better score than 7 out of 10. So squat was amazing, bench wasn't as much. Let's see what MattDoesFitness can actually deadlift. Oh, sorry guys, I just saw that he's deadlifting sumo. This video will not come out actually.
Is sumo really cheating?
Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm disappointed. I'm bamboozled. I don't know what to say. Now, anyway, you know, all jokes aside, let's talk briefly about the sumo versus conventional debate. Is sumo cheating like Sibam said it? No, I don't think sumo is cheating because it's allowed like in powerlifting competitions. Now, does sumo offer an advantage in terms of positioning? Yes, it does, in my opinion, especially when you look at in the IPF, all of the lightweight classes, so 59, 66, 74, and maybe up to 83. Most lifters are pulling sumo. Like in the 66, I'm probably one of the only guys pulling conventional over like 280 kilos. So yeah, it definitely offers an advantage. Now, you know, that's a joke. I don't have anything serious, quote unquote, against sumo. But I just think like, in my opinion, it's more badass to lift conventional than it is to lift sumo. But again, that's just my personal opinion and not what I think is true in terms of like strength in general. Chapter closed. We're forgiving MattDoesFitness for his sumo stance, and let's analyze the deadlift now. So here he's pulling 500 pounds, 230 kilos, and that's just a joke. Like it's very, very speedy off the floor. It's almost like an empty bar. There's one thing I want to say though, he's using a deadlift bar. deadlift bar is much easier to deadlift on. I'll just give you a quick example for reference. There was a lifter that was lifting 360 kilos. So in terms of pounds, I don't know how many pounds it is, but that's like a lot on a deadlift bar. Then he came to train with me in my gym, and in my gym I only have stiff bar. I don't have any like deadlift bar. On this day in particular, he wasn't able to deadlift 300 kilos, so 660 pounds. So as you can see, there's a 60 kilo difference. Again, that's like one extreme example, but sometimes it's not unusual to see like 30, 40 kilos difference between deadlifting on a deadlift bar and deadlifting on a stiff bar. So here, I think it's important to take that into account, because this lift here on a deadlift bar, in my opinion, doesn't 100% compare to a lift on a stiff bar. So we'll keep that in mind for the final score. So now he's jumping up to 270 kilos, which is approximately 600 pounds. And you know, when you're deadlifting 600 pounds, whether it's sumo conventional, I would say you're good. I would say you're fairly strong. So let's see. Yeah. Awesome technique, pretty much the same as the squat, I would say. So some key elements to note on the deadlift: how well you can hinge. Although it's sumo, hinging is still important. How well you can pull the slack out of the bar. So having a smooth pull and not having any like major breakdown in your positioning when the bar breaks the floor. And on those two elements, his technique is flawless. Like, I don't have anything to say besides amazing, awesome, that's great. Let's see where he's jumping up from that. Honestly, I think a 20 kilo jump, like a 290, something like that, wouldn't be crazy. Let's see. Oh, 305. So he jumped 35 kilos, which is like very big in terms of jump. But I don't think it's like a dumb move, because with deadlifts, because it's a very taxing move, when you're going for like a 1 rep max attempt, like he's doing here, the less you can tire yourself between sets, I think the better it is. So if you've assessed that you're strong enough on that day to attempt a given weight, then go for it, you know? The day I deadlifted 300 kilos, I did pretty much the same jump. So I did 270 and then directly loaded 300 kilos. So it's not unusual to have those big jumps, especially when you can deadlift like in the 280 kilos range plus. Now, if your 1 RM is 230 and you're going from 200 to 230, I would say maybe not. Maybe do a less big jump. But in terms of percentages, here it's almost like a 10% jump. I would say it's okay. Let's see that 305 kilos. Oh. So he was like happy, pumped and hyped, but I'm sorry to be this guy, but that doesn't count. Like he almost lost balance at the top and he wasn't able to lock it out. Yeah, I don't think it counts. I think that's a failed lift, I would say. Now, obviously, when you're doing a gym lift, it's not the same as like a competition lift, but still, like you cannot like fall at the top and be like, oh, I did it. So yeah, not very convinced by that 305. So let's see what he'll do next. Okay, so he decided to go for it, and he loaded more than what he just felt. So 310 kilos, 680 pounds. That's a massive deadlift. So hopefully he gets it. Let's see. Yeah, this time he got it. Like, it was locked out. He kept it at the top. Nothing to say, but that's a very good lift, and that's very solid. And he's hyped, yeah. Yeah, I remember when I deadlifted 300 kilos, I was losing my shit too, so I can definitely understand that. Yeah. Yeah, I like to see that. I like to see that. So let's break down his technique. So like I said, he has a very aggressive style of pulling, which is good if you have a deadlift bar. I think if you're pulling this aggressively on a stiff bar, I don't think that would go, as you can see here. So he's going almost from 0 to 100, and you can't really do that with a stiff bar. So I would say his technique works very well for deadlift bar, and also he has bumper plates, which makes the bar even more bendy. So in terms of strength, I would say he's strong, but I don't think he's as strong as that, because in my opinion, on a stiff bar with like calibrated plates, he couldn't pull above 280, I think, max. He pulled 310 on a deadlift bar with bumper plates. I think that would equate to like a 270, 280 pull on a stiff bar. So as you can see, massive difference. But anyway, that's a gym lift, so we'll take that into account. And now, if I were to give a score, I think I would give him like an 8.5 out of 10 for strength, because like dude is obviously very, very strong, but that wouldn't be a 10 because if he had pulled that on a stiff bar, I think that would be a 10 or 9.5, something like that. But here I will stay with 8. And now in terms of technique, just 10 out of 10. I don't have anything to say on his technique. Very good hip hinge, very good like drive into the floor with his legs, very good slack pull, good lockout on the 310 that was locked and he kept it at the top. So yeah, MattDoesFitness is definitely an animal. He does need to work a bit on his bench press, especially his technique, like I said, but squats, deadlift, very, very strong dude, elite for sure. And bench press, I would say for bench press, he's like strong, but definitely not elite. But his squat and his deadlift are elite. That was it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a couple of things. As always, if that's the case, one of the best ways to let me know is to subscribe, to leave a comment. The comment can be like if you want me to analyze someone else next, or if like you think I look good in my compression tee and I look like fairly similar to Toji, then you can definitely comment that under the video. That will make my heart full of joy. I'll catch you guys in the next one.